Respected moderator and panelists, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to join you from Bahrain through video. Although I was anticipating to join the event in person, however, I am still deprived from receiving my passport from authorities. Thus, I still cannot travel out of Bahrain to attend international meetings and continue my international commitment to counter extremism and to support the implementation of the Rabat Plan of Action at a non-governmental level throughout the Middle East. What is the framework for the protection of freedom of expression in Bahrain and elsewhere? The ICCPR establishes the legal framework for the protection of freedom of expression in Article 19. Article 19 establishes that everyone shall have the right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas of all kinds, regardless of frontiers, either orally or in writing or print, or in the form of art, or through any media of his choice. Bahrain is a signatory to the ICCPR since 2006 and has made no reservations to Article 19. Although the Constitution of Bahrain guarantees freedom of expression, the government relies on the 2002 press law to restrict the rights of the media, and Article 165 and 168 of the Criminal Penal Code to restrict freedom of expression. The press law allows up to 5 years imprisonment for publicly criticizing religious symbols, the king, governmental bodies, or advocating any sort of change in the government. The Bahraini authorities held hundreds, including myself, under Article 165 of the Criminal Penal Code that reads, "A prison sentence shall be passed against any person who expressly incites others to develop hatred or hostility towards the system of government." Article 165 of the Criminal Penal Code fails to meet the requirements of legality and international standards of freedom of expression. Firstly, it fails to define the term hatred. What exactly do you mean by hatred? What are the boundaries of the term, which represents the feeling and state of mind and not an action? Without clarity of meaning, the law makes it impossible to regulate one's conduct. Secondly, by resorting to Article 165 of the Bahrain Criminal Code, the authorities have also violated Article 19, noting that any restrictions by law made in order to restrict freedom of expression must be compatible with the provisions, aims, and objectives of the ICCPR. Furthermore, Article 165 of the Criminal Code attributes not only to too much discretion to the prosecutor's office, it also prevents necessary and legitimate debates and expressions in the public interest aimed at questioning and criticizing the system of government, seeking to improve it, and ensuring it meets human rights obligations as laid in the ICCPR. Therefore, it's more than a necessity to modify Article 165 and Article 168 of the Bahraini Criminal Penal Code, noting that Professor Sharif Basyouni called in the Bahrain Independent Commission inquiry report to modify the article and release all those imprisoned under Article 165 for peacefully expressing their views and opinions in public matters. in 2016. The Bahraini government has also tightened its grip on freedom of expression with new arrests, interrogations, and harassments of individuals at the beginning of 2016 for peacefully exercising their right to freedom of expression, including on social media and Twitter accounts. The arrests, trials, and harassments in 2015 and 2016 demonstrate the Bahraini authorities' increasing intolerance of criticism and its determination to continue its repression of the peaceful exercise of the right to freedom of expression and peaceful assembly, in a serious indication of the alerting rise in systematic human rights violations in Bahrain. Freedom of assembly has been banned in Bahrain since December 2014. Furthermore, 4 leading political opposition figures are all regarded as prisoners of conscience. They languish in detention for their peaceful criticism of the authorities and for calling for democracy and respect of human rights. Besides other political leaders who have been in jail since 2011, Ibrahim Sharif, Fadl Abbas, Sheikh Ali Salman, and Majid Milad are all regarded by UN expert bodies as prisoners of conscience who have been arrested solely for peacefully exercising their right to freedom of expression. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention in September 2015 not only regarded Sheikh Ali Salman as a prisoner of conscience, but called to release him immediately and grant him adequate compensation for time spent in prison. Nabil Rajab and myself are still deprived from the right of travel abroad and could face prosecution at any time for highlighting human rights violations in Bahrain. Al-Wasat newspaper, the only independent newspaper in Bahrain, was closed in August 2015 and reopened after international pressure. Journalists, bloggers, politicians, artists, women's rights activists, human rights defenders have all been repeatedly arrested, ill-treated, and harassed for expressing their views and opinions in public affairs. Furthermore, Shia religious scholars have been constantly harassed and targeted for their public expressions and public calls, and for publicly expressing their peaceful opinions and calls to achieve equal citizenship and to end sectarian discrimination and exclusion practiced against 65% of the religious demography of nationals in Bahrain. I absolutely have no doubt that Article 18 and Article 19 of the ICCPR work hands in hands and complete each other, for it's ineffective and ineffectual to protect freedom of religion and belief without promoting and protecting freedom of expression as stated in Article 19 of the ICCPR. Article 19 acts in many ways as a strong guarantor of Article 18. And it also acts as an effective harmonizer of Article 20 to ensure striking the right balance between the prohibition of the advocacy of hatred that constitutes incitement to violence, discrimination, and hostility on one hand, and the protection of freedom of expression on the other hand. Finally, I would like to call upon international human rights bodies and organizations to continue exerting international pressure on the government of Bahrain to unconditionally release all prisoners of conscience who were mostly arrested for exercising their right in freedom of expression and freedom of assembly. I would also recommend the visit of the Special Rapporteur of the Promotion and Protection of Freedom of Expression, Professor David Kay, to Bahrain to assist the government of Bahrain on adapting strategies to stop violating international human rights laws and adapt reforms to protect freedom of expression in line with ICCPR and the Constitution of Bahrain. Before ending, I would like to express my appreciation of the statements made by His Excellency, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Zaid Ra'ad al-Hussein, on the 10th of March, which reassured all of us that the international community and the UN human rights bodies will remain dedicated towards improving the overall human rights situation in Bahrain. I would also like to thank all of the attendees who attended this event, and I would like to thank those who invited me to participate in this event. Thank you.